You're out gardening at your house. You're out gardening at your house.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to call to order the Monday, August 22nd Planning Commission work session. Before we begin, can we call roll, please?
Commissioner Bob LaSalle.
Here.
Commissioner Chris Staggs.
Present.
Vice Chair Mike Mitchell.
Here.
Chair Dirk Schlagenhofer.
Here.
Commissioner Daphne West.
Here.
Commissioner Patty Gage. Here. Commissioner Greg Stahl.
Here. Okay, before we begin, I do notice that we have public comment written here, so I'm going to ask, are there any public comments on items not on the agenda? Okay, I see none. So we can begin with work session item number 1, and that is review the revised draft of the OC2040 Comprehensive Plan. And I believe Ms. Hurdrovich was going to introduce this?
Yes, I am. Actually, I was wondering if we could take things a little out of order and start
We're going to swap them around. I'm sorry about that.
introductions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, we'll do introductions first. So I kind of have a misprint on the agenda where I wrote we do introductions in September, but we're going to do them tonight. So I will ask our two new planners to come up to the desk up here, and we wanted to introduce our new assistant planners. So we've got Molly Gorin, and she comes to us from Salt Lake City from a kind of COG type government there, where she was a planner, and she went to the University of Utah to get her master's. And then Jude Tudeus is next to Molly, and he is a recent graduate from Portland State University. And they've both started. They've been here maybe a month, I think. It's been about a month, so mid-July. And they're doing great work, and we're so happy to have them here. So I just wanted to give you a chance to meet them, because you might see their name come across some of your materials, or you may interact with them. So, yep, Molly and Jude.
Awesome. All right, well, welcome. It's great to have you join us. I know we've been short-staffed for a while, so this is I'm sure, a relief for everyone. Anybody like to say anything?
Well, welcome.
Are we fully staffed now?
Yes, we're fully staffed.
Terrific.
Yeah,
Well-
it is terrific.
But we are hiring for an administrative assistant.
Yeah, we recently had a new position added for an administrative assistant. So that's like, if you asked me on June 30th if we were fully staffed, I could say yes, but now we have a new position, and so now we're recruiting for an administrative assistant in the new budget year, so.
I just wanted to ask you, what is a COG? You came from a what?
I worked for a government that was sort of the unincorporated county for Salt Lake, but it was also the Metro Townships, which was a certain type of municipal government setup that would allow them to more share city services between each other while maintaining independence. So town of Brighton, if you're a skier, snowboarder, that was one of my communities there.
Okay. New term for me.
I mean, I think it means
We
like,
have something similar here on the county level, but I can't remember the name of it.
the Mid-Willamette Valley COG, and
Council of Government.
thank you, Pete. I was forgetting
what it's about to.
The COG, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like to welcome both of you to the city, and I promise to play nice for a while.
Appreciate it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and just thank you, and we're happy to be here and working for the city of Oregon City.
Yeah. It's a great pleasure to be working here. Everybody's been fabulous, and this is a great city to work for, and I just really look forward to the work that I'm going to do here.
These guys are doing great, and they're just starting to get, the hang of it, and I can already They're doing great. They're just starting to get the hang of it. They're already processing type 2 staff reports and that sort of thing. So I have no doubt that they're going to be a great addition to our team. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
I'd like to mention just one thing. I'm kind of lighting fires about the acoustics in this room, but one of the things that's most important is that we each speak directly into our microphone, closely to our microphone, so it helps to hear to the back of the room, I've been told.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can hear yourself well, but I've sat down there too, and if someone's not speaking into their mic, it's not going through the speakers, and that's your only chance of being able to hear them. So, yeah, I think we need to just, tell the people that they're not being heard. It's not intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, okay, so we got the introductions. Are we also going to discuss the future work sessions before agenda item 1?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
So instead of September 12th, we'll come together for a work session on October 10th and address the question that came up last time about what are the different decision-making processes and review processes for type 1 all the way up through type 4. And that will most likely be Christina Robertson-Gardner and Carrie Richter, our city attorney. So they'll kind of tag team on that presentation. That's what we've got on the work session so far.
What was the new date?
October 10th. That should be our first meeting in October.
Do we know if we're also having a regular meeting on the 10th? As of yet?
Let's see. I printed this out so that I could answer that question. Let me see if we have anything at this moment. Yes, we do. We will have a land use discussion that night.
Okay. So
October 10th.
October 10th.
Correct, yeah,
And September 12th, we have another meeting.
correct. Just no work session.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a meeting on the 12th, but not a work session. Work sessions moved to the October 10th. Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the work sessions? Okay, are we ready for agenda item 1?
Yes.
Reviewing the revised draft of the Oregon City 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Lots of changes I see.
Yes, give me one moment here.
Sure.
Okay. All right. I do 2 computers tonight. Let's see if I can manage that. All right, thank you. So I'm here to talk more about OC2040, and Anna East Mathis is here from 3J Consulting, and she can help answer questions, and she's going to be part of the presentation as well. And then Sarah Breakstone, which I just minimized this, so now I need to, let me see. So Sarah Breakstone is on the line, and I'll pull that back up for questions. And so she will help address questions towards the end. All right, so we're here to look at the draft comprehensive plan. And we want to discuss the draft comprehensive plan, narrative goals, policies, and strategies. And this draft is a revision to the previously presented graphic version. So the one that's in your packet is kind of a step back and just more of that raw Word document format. And what we're looking for tonight is direction on next steps. So those next steps could be going to City Commission in the format that it's in, going to City Commission in a graphic version, or coming back to Planning Commission with the graphic version, and then making further revisions if we need to. And then I'll summarize those choices again at the end. And so just to be clear, what I mean by the graphic version is, you probably all remember, but we presented a document that had this kind of cover, and then it was actually laid out. It wasn't just in a Word format. So that's what I mean when I say that's a little more finished of a version. So the changes that we made are several. So first, we tried to make a more direct tie between the statewide planning goals in each of the 4 chapters. So rather than having themes, there's now goals listed next to each chapter. After the last Planning Commission meeting, the feedback that we got was the need for more specificity, and the ability, that specificity was intended to help the Planning Commission and City Commission and staff make land use decisions. So we went back and spent some time looking at the 2004 Comprehensive Plan and reviewing the background pieces and the goals and policies. And there were actually multiple places that were from 2004 that were still relevant today and applicable. So we incorporated those. We didn't incorporate everything, and there are some places in the OC2040 goals that really didn't have any relevant policies from 2004. But so the majority of the strategies that are in that draft document come from the 2004 plan, and they're the ones that felt applicable and relevant. And they, some of those strategies are came from past OC 2040 work when we were talking about different wording or ways to implement some of the goals. And so one thing that you'll notice too is that we've gone back to that policy wording. So we've got goals, policies, and then strategies. And so this is an example of how we tied each chapter into the statewide planning goals, and then addressed in order to show how we're addressing each of the goals through our goals, policies, and strategies. And these goals didn't change. They were all in the the previous draft that you saw in June. They've just been kind of reordered, put into the document in a different way. We took out the topic areas, as I mentioned, and now we've got the statewide planning goals, and that makes it a little more clear as to what we're addressing with each chapter. And so the background information also ties to the statewide planning goals. And the narrative sections that are in the draft, they represent a combination of the background information from the 2004 plan and the OC 2040 streamlined descriptions. And as I mentioned, we found some of the background to still be relevant and explain and give some context to some of the goals and policies and strategies. So in June, when we presented the draft goals and strategies, we also presented an appendix of implementation measures. And so what you have before you tonight is different from that. We did not continue on with the implementation measures. So after receiving feedback that the goals and strategies weren't specific enough, and that those implementation measures really wouldn't give the Planning Commission the direction that was needed for land use decisions, we just revisited the entire approach. So we're no longer proposing an appendix, an implementation measure appendix, and instead everything's incorporated into the main document itself. And so some of the policies come from the like I said, OC 2040, some of the draft comments, and most of them come from the comp plan policies. So I'm just now noticing that I keep switching between words here. So when we pulled in 2004 policies into the draft in front of you, we renamed them to strategies. So that's, I'll try to keep that language clear so as not to confuse kind of the hierarchy. The policy language, the goals and policies, for the most part, that language did not change. And that's because it was vetted by yourselves, the Planning Commission a couple of times, and the City Commission. So we left that kind of exactly as it was. And then in that draft where you see blue text, that's what we've added. And that blue text is what came from either 2004 or previous OC 2040 comments. And we think that this revised language really gives both the Planning Commission and staff, as well as the City Commission, the direction that's needed for land use decisions. The other thing you'll notice is that we did incorporate some entire new sections. One of those is urbanization, and that's in Chapter 2 as Goal 5. And that helps guide decisions about annexation and when to expand the urban growth boundary. We also added the comprehensive plan land use designations, and that's in Chapter 2, Goal 3. Those are important because it guides kind of the future general use of land, of property. So when things are annexed in, they get annexed in typically with a comprehensive plan designation, and then the zone is applied, and the zone's more specific, but the comprehensive plan land use designation may say like low-density residential, and then we come in and zone it and apply exactly which of the low densities will apply to certain pieces of land. So that was important to make sure that that was captured in the comprehensive plan. And then finally, we added a section addressing the Willamette River Greenway, which was addressed in narrative form, but the goal and policy language from 2004 was not incorporated, and that's in Chapter 4, Goal 5. And so at this point, I was going to ask Anais to come up and talk a little bit about trade-offs for kind of the way that we've set this up versus other ways.
Thank you. So before I go on to the trade-offs of why one would incorporate implementation strategies in their comprehensive plan versus not, just a quick refresher on why we are where we are today and why we're even talking about implementation strategies in a comprehensive plan. So if you probably already know, your current comprehensive plan, I think, has 273 comprehensive plan policies. So there's a lot of content in that document. And this OC 2040 process was really about streamlining a lot of that information in that document. And so that's why you see in front of you and how kind of you've seen it been laid out throughout this entire process is trying to kind of collapse, modify, and create thematic areas that capture a lot of the sentiments that these policies in the 2004 comprehensive plan, capture, but just in a bit less bulk. So as a result, clearly there's definitely some holes that the Planning Commission and City Commission have kind of found that we want to be able to fill. So that's why we have implementation strategies now in this document. There's nothing wrong with having implementation strategies in a comprehensive plan. I would say that generally speaking is certainly a great way to provide additional detail and context to some of those broader policy statements that might encapsulate multiple different types of sentiments or aspirations rather than, more individualized policy statements. And it also provides a little bit more upfront information about the expectations for applicants in the development process. So a little bit for, essentially having continuity with the development code. So those are, some great things about having the implementation strategies baked directly into the comprehensive plan. It certainly gives you a lot more guidance and specificity within this document. Just a couple things to keep in mind. This, comprehensive plan is a legally binding document. So your implementation strategies are certainly strategies that are, you're legally bound to. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And then also, adoption of the plan means that another thing is that sometimes, there may be certain implementation strategies that lose their relevancy over the course of a 20-year period. And we saw that a little bit with the 2004 plan, but we really tried to identify those strategies which we do feel will have relevancy throughout the entire 20-year planning horizon. So just a couple of trade-offs between having those types of strategies baked into that plan. I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to just share as well, but I've just forgot the note. Yeah, I'll keep it at that for now, and then I can answer some more questions if it's a little unclear.
Thanks, thank you. Okay. And so that kind of takes us to the end then, and in the direction that we're looking for. So just to summarize what I said in the beginning is either to proceed with a draft to the City Commission, bring a draft back to Planning Commission, or make further revisions and bring those revisions back. And with that, we can answer questions and have discussion, and I will stop sharing now.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anything to discuss?
Letting somebody else go first.
I see nothing. You may. Okay. If anyone has anything, now's the time.
I do have a concern.
Okay.
Not that anybody would be surprised by that, right? I think this makes this a much more usable document for the Planning Commission and the City Commission, and that's great. My concern now is the role of, or is there continuing a new role for the project advisory team? Because are there things in here now that maybe would not have been the sentiment of that group? Or are we assuming and trying to assure that if they agreed to this high-level policy, then this, am I using it right? And then
Yes.
strategies underneath?
Yeah.
Then this strategy, as long as it supports that, we're going to assume that they would agree? I'm asking the question. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's probably not in the budget or the plan to bring that PAT back together again.
Well, I can answer that.
Sure.
So great question. Certainly the scope kind of had us working at a particular level with the project advisory team, of which you were a part of, so thank you. We do have actually one more, touch point with the PAT. I would say that we were at the end of the process where we had engaged them in a pretty iterative, round of meetings where we identified concepts, we identified language, we identified policies, and then, there's definitely a lot of back and forth among the commissions regarding a lot of language changes, et cetera. I think that we should certainly go back to the PAT and at least share with them kind of that process that happened or that back and forth that happened over the last few months and share those implementation strategies. I will say right off the bat that all of those implementation strategies support those policy statements. So I wouldn't necessarily, and they're not new either. They do, they're existing policies from the 2004 Comprehensive Plan. So it's not like it came out of absolutely nowhere. So it certainly has legs. In terms of the process for this project, as I mentioned, we do have one more touch point with the PAT, and we certainly are kind of waiting for this to feel finalized with your input, with City Commission's input, so we can return to them and just kind of share what we did over the course of the last few months and share those implementation strategies. I don't know, we're no longer at a point now where we can essentially rehash those implementation strategies with the PAT, but I certainly think it was a really, really important body in terms of pulling together the concepts that you have in front of you. And they certainly deserve a final touch point in order to review those strategies.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the implementation strategies and policies, those were kind of built on top of the work that the PAT did. And so it's still all in there, but, clearly it had to get more. We asked for more specific language, and that's not something you're going to get from a project advisory team. So the work from them is still there. It's just been added on to
entirely
and considered. Okay, all right. I can appreciate that. Okay, so the options for us tonight are proceed with this draft to City Commission for feedback, proceed to City Commission with this draft in a graphic format for feedback, bring back the revised draft in a graphic format before proceeding to City Commission, or make further revisions and return to Planning Commission for review. So how do we decide which way we want to go?
Well, I think that's the discussion for the Planning Commission. I realize those are kind of a lot of choices, but
There are.
I guess the difference between 1 and 2 is if you would like the City Commission to vet what you've just seen, that's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is if you want to see it in a more kind of fully developed document, what will end up, the document that's closer to what we will end up publishing, we can bring that back for you to look at, or we can put it all together and take that to City Commission. So I suppose you could narrow your choices down to, do you want to see it again, or are you ready to move it on? And we can always make the call of what type of format we should present.
Okay, all right, so I guess, do we want to bring it back to review some more, or are we ready to move it on? I'm ready to move it on.
Move it on.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to forward it as is to the City Commission.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I'll call a vote. And the motion was Commissioner LaSalle, and the second was Commissioner Gage.
Commissioner Staggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell?
No.
Commissioner Schlagenhofer?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Stoll?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. It moves on. All right. Just a second.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I see nothing else on here.
That took less time than I anticipated, so we have some time before the regular meeting.
Okay, great. Work session is adjourned.